stuff? Well, primarily what I do for my company, which I gave a little handout on BNS fact sheet. My division of NEC is called Business Network Solutions, and where I fit in with this is I function in marketing communications as a consultant to get the marketing message out and to get it out consistently. How many of you have ever even heard of NEC? Yeah, I guess because we're mostly computer people, right? We've kind of heard of them. The fourth largest manufacturer of chips, that type of thing, phones, computers. Well, you ever seen a commercial for NEC? No. How many of you have seen the NEC Invitational Golf Tournament? Well, there is one. You see what I'm saying? There's just not a lot of branding out there for NEC. Primarily what I do is I try to develop a message to get out to people, and especially from my division. NEC is kind of its own wholly design area. But primarily where I function as a practitioner's perspective is I've set in on meetings where companies come to us and they want one of two things. They want money. Usually they want money for things like, say for instance, Lloyd's idea that he had with writing the software. I've seen agencies come to us before and say, hey, we have this really good idea. Can you help us out? And we fund it, or we don't, et cetera, et cetera. The other side of it I've seen is I've seen a lot of e-commerce sites come through our doors with new technologies. And kind of where I got thrown into the technology aspect of the marketing side of it was that I had to take technology, today's most current technology, no matter what that is, and I had to integrate it into our marketing initiatives. Well, gosh, you know, that sounds simple, right? But the problem with that was that it's so in-depth that it becomes such cumbersome work for one person to do. So we have a staff. Well, when the e-commerce sites would come in, we would sit in a room, we were discussing things. Some really neat things I saw happen throughout this. I've had chances to work with the CEO of NEC, the CEO of my company, in these meetings. And there was a time when, I don't know, you've seen streaming video over the net. That's big hot stuff right now. Voice over internet protocol. There was a company that came to us, and I've been advised I can't say the name, but they came to us and they said, you know, we would really like to have some money to go fund this thing. And my CEO asked them, well, how much are you looking for? You know, just point blank. How much money do you want? Well, around $8,000 to get it going. And my CEO just looked at it. I mean, usually we deal with, our site, our website, NEC America, was $1.5 million to build the site. Okay? Phenomenal. I'm sitting there, I'm from West Texas, okay? That's a lot of money. But these guys want $8,000. My CEO writes the check out of his own personal account. I'll fund it for you. I'm not going to use company money, but I'll fund it for you. Neat things like this. So what I did is I put together these little strategies and tips and hints of, you know, e-commerce is out there. We see it. We live in it. We choke with it sometimes when you're backing up servers on 3 different coasts, right? North, south, you're in some other area. You're thinking, what's going on in Asia today? You know, that type of thing. I put together these hints and tips on how can I get beyond E. It's no more. It's no more e-commerce. We got to think about what strategies can I use to get beyond E. And that's kind of where I'm going. And I've got an outline in here. I don't get to share my toys with you. I've got a reason I wanted to do the toy game. I've got a trade show I'm going to in California. I'm leaving today for this weekend, and I've got this new toy that I think some of you guys that were students saw. I was testing a beta version of it then. Now I'm integrating it into the trade show. I wanted to share that, but be that as it may. Little outline. We'll talk about these strategies. Won't take up too much of your time. Then we'll get on to the break. Competing in the new economy, the new rules. Well, what do I do? How do I move beyond E? E-commerce is no longer unique on its own. How many of you would agree with that? Yeah, we heard it. The rhetoric. My brethren up here, we're saying it to you. We're saying it's no longer the same. It's changing. It's evolving. As fast as we say things that are new, things are changing. So, at any rate, e-commerce, no longer enough to sell e-business as a be-all, end-all solution for your clients. You kind of got to go beyond that, don't you? Well, think about this. Web solutions should be a part of an overall business strategy. What do I mean by that? Well, can I just, and I heard one of the guys mention it, and I was thinking of this too. PC Shop, I think it was Lloyd. They went all totally online. And when children, man, that's where you grow up cutting your teeth, learning about computers on PC shopper manuals, right? And they go all the way to online. Well, is this a good move? Who knows? But you got to take this thing and integrate it into a business strategy. Well, what does that mean? Direct mail, point-of-sale systems, and believe it or not, my friends, human contact. Does it seem funny to you? We've gone from human contact where I come up to Kyle. Kyle, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Glad to see you in the store. We go away from that onto the website, and now we're right back to it. How many of you have seen the new sites out there where you click an icon and you're talking with someone? What do you think they're working towards? Yeah, I see it all the time. They're getting back to what was once working, what was good. It's all about relationships, that type of thing. And I think that's the rhetoric that everyone's kind of giving. This number 4, the slide, that was really going to be fun because Mark Solis was here. And Dr. Anwar and I talked a lot about this. Avoid CIOs? Question mark. Well, the funny thing about that is the Chief Information Officer is no longer the only person out there that you should be targeting to get information from or to provide solutions or to pitch an idea. And the reason for that is the old school CIOs were technical people. How many times, and I've seen it, you go to a meeting, these companies would come and want funding, they sit us down, there'd be 15 people in the room, and the CIO's there, and they say, well, we'd like to do this with your company. First thing the CIO says is, what's that going to do to my network? Then they start talking about technical. Marketing doesn't match up with the technology. It just doesn't match because I'm concerned as a CIO, what's this thing going to do? What's this video going to do to my servers? Is it going to crash it? It's hard to sell those ideas. You know, I told you my CEO wrote the check out of his personal account for these guys in Dallas. It was a Dallas startup. The CEO was in on that meeting. What does that tell you? Get somebody else involved in that meeting. Get as many people as you can involved in that meeting. Upper level managers as well. Marketing managers, really good. The ideas people, right? They're the ones that they want to take this idea and run with it. And we don't, I had a neat conversation at lunch too. We don't think, as marketing managers, say, oh yeah, that'd be cool, we'll just click here and we'll crack it here and we'll do this. We're not thinking in our mind all of the technicalities of database management. How many programmers is it going to take to make this happen? This type of thing. So that's kind of a neat thing. Avoiding CIO as well. Don't alienate the CIO. It's very important that you have them. Don't get me wrong. That's kind of what I was punning Mark about earlier. But don't just target the CIO. Well, number 5, don't go cheap. I see this happen all the time. I'll give you an example of a company that did this, and I don't know if I can mention it, but CompUSA in Dallas. When I first moved to Dallas, I worked as a technology instructor. They went real cheap. They would hire cheap people for a lot of their initiatives. What happened to CompUSA? You kind of see what happened. They kind of collapsed there for a while. IT professionals are in high demand. If you don't pay top dollar for your people, your competitor will. Plain and simple. Have a friend that just graduated from the University of North Texas with a degree in computers. He's working for IBM Global Services. His minimum starting salary was $65,000. He's younger than I am. $65,000. I mean, that's, to me, it's a lot of money. Some people might think it's I'm living out here, you know. I've been working for a couple of years now, so to me, that's just, wow, that's nice. At any rate, it took a while to get here where I am. And if it wasn't for technology, I guarantee you, a marketing guy out there in the world right now isn't going to command that amount of money. You've got to mix it in with technology. And when I do these lectures for classes, I keep telling these guys, know the technology. Learn something about technology. So at any rate, build a strong company culture while remembering to compensate staff as well as salary and benefits. eTensity, which is a company that they're a kind of a solutions provider. They give a $400 a month car allowance to their employees who've been there over a year. It's very nice. I get stock options. I wrote a program in Visual Basic for my marketing field. I have 1,100 people out in the field. I wrote a Visual Basic program that makes a scope of work document automated, so they weren't having to click down through the menu. I took that stuff that I learned from technology and kind of like Wood was talking about, write the stuff, take some initiative. I didn't know Visual Basic. I kind of know a little bit about it now. Not as much as I should probably, but what I'm saying is you take that initiative. Well, the way I'm rewarded for taking that initiative is I get to keep my job. I get to live in the wonderful place of Amarillo. I telecommute back and forth between Dallas, and I get stock options. That's nice. That's a nice little thing you get in the mail, that kind of thing. So it's kind of fun. So reward your people. Money saved today is worth nothing tomorrow. You've lost all your market share. think that's one of the cool things that I've heard come out of the meeting that we've seen. Well, number 6, a lot of people may or may not like this, but ditch your .coms. The .com revolution is over. What? You're telling me my friends just said, jump on the .com bandwagon, the bandwagon. Well, as we know it, it's over. We're kind of in this new wave. And I think this we've seen today. We're moving towards that e-enterprise type initiative as opposed to the e-commerce. So just keep that in mind. If you don't, you never know what's going to happen. Well, at least as we once knew it. And what I mean by this again, this morning I picked up the Dallas Morning News on the business section at the bottom. It was .com this, lost 55 million. .com that, lost this, lost that. 2 years ago, I sat in classes while I was videotaping this seminar, right? I sat in classes and I listened to my professor say, there's a problem out there. The PE ratios of these stocks just don't match up. Something's going on. Well, now what do we see 2 years later? They're falling apart. So you have weak financials, you have increasing competitive pressures. Well, we see that, don't we? Investor flight. That's a big deal. A real big deal. And what that does is people that come to my company now and they want money, it makes people think twice now, kind of before they jump into it. So I would challenge you, kind of think twice about some of them as well. For you guys that are solution providers, maybe somebody's coming to you wanting to put this presence out there. You kind of have a choice, and I think Lloyd kind of hit on this. You can kind of qualify your client a little better. It's like when Sony got turned down and then came crawling back. Well, it's kind of true. If you pick a good client, someone that's going to be out there and do a good job, then that makes you look better again. So I guess what I'm saying is, don't just jump at the first people that come to the door. Kind of take time and qualify. What's this, modified internal rate of return going to be for them? What's that going to do for me in the end? This type of thing. Seek out a few .coms that want their e-business sites fully integrated with offline channels. And this simply goes back to the same thing of going beyond in this web solutions. If I'm a solutions provider and I'm hosting, say, I don't know, who's somebody in a business, I don't want to just put that presence out there. I want to tie this presence in with strategies on the outside, direct mailings, this type of thing, tracking where my client base hits are coming from, marketing to that area, these type of things. So that's kind of a good idea. Choose partners carefully. I saw this one day. I sat in on a panel meeting. A friend of mine that works for Cisco was there. His name is Fritz. And we were trying to decide on, as a company, who we were going to strategically align with. Well, we went with Cisco. We're now like one of the largest Cisco resellers in America, probably in the world now, because we've got offshore channels as well. But the thing about it is we had to decide who's the front runner. And it wasn't that we just went out and looked at market cap and said, oh, I think Cisco might be pretty good. But I think you guys said earlier, somebody decided, hey, routers are pretty important, right? Well, Cisco's a real good solid. And what I would tell you is if you're forming strategic alliances, joint ventures, this type of thing, pick your partner carefully. Know that partner. I think you've heard that today as well. Stick to platforms you know well. Probably wasn't the best idea for me as a personal individual to go off and write a Visual Basic program to automate a document when I'd only taught Visual Basic on a lower level a couple, 3 times. But I did it anyway. Now I've kind of challenged myself to learn more about it. So stick to things you know well, but that doesn't mean you don't have to venture out and kind of test the waters a little bit as well. Course, here we go. Focus on 1 or 2 technologies your competitors are not leveraging. This company, Valair, came to us, and they had this nice new technology for 3D renderings and audio, visual, this type of thing. And we took this and we broke it down, and what they wanted to do was let us fund this thing, but if we were to use it on our internal servers, we had to buy their little special application to make it run. No, sorry, that didn't work. Because we didn't want to be a slave to their particular application that they had out there. So kind of keep that in mind. But you can, if you find something that other people are not leveraging, you can use it to get a better, kind of a better overall market perspective. Or even a nice little niche game. Well, business to business may be a great marketplace. Oh yeah, I think so. You've heard this today as well. I got a little stat on here that I pulled from the Yankee Group in Boston. And the only reason I did that is the Yankee Group is real funny. I sat in on a meeting, first time I'd ever been in Boston, And one of the guys that was there was about my age, and we just hit it off, and he worked for Yankee Group. And so I used his staff. At any rate, 3 trillion in business-to-business transactions by 2004. Amazes me as well. 850 billion of that will be generated by e-market transactions. And this is predictions again. They're not going to be accurate, but they'll be close. Everyone has a different perspective. I like Mike's from Yankee Group. Dominate, don't duplicate. Choose your clients carefully. I think we talked a little bit about that already. But look for projects that will define the future of e-business. I'm lucky because I am from a big company. People come to us with this new technology. We have the money to give. Doesn't mean we always do it, but we see some of the coolest and newest technologies out there. And the neat thing about it is we try to look at those and we try to lay those out on a scale and see which one in the end would be the best overall to be funded. So there's different models for that as well. Well, defining the future of e-business, I'd like to be on the cusp of what's going to be. I'd like to be doing something cool in the future, have a part in that. If you're a solution provider, if you're trying to get people to do their websites, you might want to think about that. If they have an idea, don't just throw that idea away. Try to take that idea and work with it. And see if you can't mold it into something that'll be better and beneficial, and maybe even a new direction. Broadcast.com, Mark Cuban. Anybody heard of Mark Cuban? He started this little company called Broadcast.com. Now he owns like everything in Dallas. You can't go anywhere without Mark Cuban being there. I've sat through meetings with him. I've met him. Coolest guy around. I mean, he's just real laid back. Hey, how's it going? But the guy's just, although he hired Dennis Rodman, I don't know what was going on with that. But he likes to work with marketing and media. So, well, if you really want to do the same thing 500 times, and this kind of goes back to this on the cusp of things. I think probably primarily one of the reasons I wanted to go out and learn a new software package was because I didn't want to be stuck doing the same thing. I use all kinds of different graphics packages to generate collateral and do advertisements and all this fun thing. I gotta tell you, you get bored. You get bored of doing the same thing over and over, so I found something different. Requirements. In other words, I'm going to have to go out and hire, 15 database programmer to make this thing happen. Is it worth my time and ink? It all goes back to internal rate of return. What am I going to get back out of the funding of the initiative? Well, significant business partners. Do you think it makes sense for NEC to want to form a strategic alliance with Cisco? Why, sure. You think Cisco really gets anything out of it? Well, maybe, because they get somebody that sells their stuff, right? Well, we also have strategic alliances with Sprint. The reason I carry a Sprint phone is because my company has a strategic alliance with them. I get Southwestern Bell phone calls, and they say, well, would you like to buy our services? And I say, well, I can't because I'm in this strategic alliance. But the reason we went with Sprint is because of the depth that they're developing in their networks. It's going to wireless. We want to take advantage of that. So form those strategic partners carefully, very carefully. Think global. How many times have you heard that? All through my college career, I listen to this guy right here say, think global. Do you want to work for Taco Bell the rest of your life? Think global. That type of thing. And part of it, the reasoning is that he instilled in me to go out and try to find something better. I went to Dallas. My wife was working on a PhD. I go to Dallas. I don't know what's in store for me. I teach technology. I end up at NEC. Now I work for Amarillo for NEC. Just kind of know. Go beyond. See what's out there. That kind of thing. Get tired of me saying that kind of thing. I used to do that. This time of the day, it's always the afternoon blahs. When I teach, people, cell phones would ring or whatever, and maybe I'd wake them up. But the afternoon blahs, you just have that big meal. And by the way, that was a good meal. You have that meal and you're tired. Think global. The couple of neat little stats I pulled from International Data Corps. Don't really know anyone there. Just got these off of a website. The U.S. portion of web users worldwide will decline from 43% in '99 to 33% in 2003. Well, we're getting better with our web proliferation, but the users are starting to decline. That's a signal. We kind of got to look to other markets. The U.S. portion of internet commerce revenue will decline from 61% of the total $130.5 billion in '99 to less than half, 44% in 2003. Another signal. And I guess, as a consultant, it's fun because you get to throw out all these signals. And then if you're wrong, you get to come back later and you get paid again to tell them why you were wrong, right? That kind of thing. But be that as it may. made. Build globally sooner. Outside internet usage explosion is going on. Asia Pacific region, Western Europe. You heard Kent talk about Europe and how they're behind us in a few things, but they're also ahead of us in some other things. There's a lot of developmental processes that are going on right now over there that's really going to put them in a position to utilize this type of technology in probably the next couple of 3 years, probably within that frame, somewhere in there. And this is the biggest one that I think I've seen. A foot in the door doesn't mean an invitation to come in. If a prospective client doesn't want you or to let you in as a strategic player, then find someone who will. And it's just as simple as, a lot of times I've seen people come to us, want money. We didn't fund it. They go right back out, they find somebody, and it's very successful. So, they came in, they met with everybody, one-on-one, hey, that was great, how's it going, that kind of thing. As soon as they leave, we're like, no, we're not doing that. That kind of thing. You see what goes on behind the doors. So there'll always be somebody out there. You just got to keep beating down the doors. As an e-builder, you're only as good as the solutions you create. I think that's very important. I think it's so important. Your reputation is only as good as what you've got out there right now. If you have something, I've heard it earlier today, somebody's happy, I think Dr. Long said. Somebody's happy, they go tell a couple, 3 people. Somebody's unhappy, they tell 10 times more. Keep people happy, build that reputation. It'll really do a good job. Build your own expertise to provide complete solutions. Even though I'm an employee of NEC, I kind of look at myself as my own business. And I got to constantly be finding ways to increase my market value. And the way I do that is that little statement right there. I build my own expertise to provide complete solutions. Somebody in my company comes to me with a problem, I'm going to find a way to make it happen. I'm not going to let them know what the way is. There's what is the old saying? There's margin in mystery, that type of thing. But I'm going to try to find a solution. And if I can't, I know people that will. Catch the next wave. It's not too late to be a successful e-solutions provider. Today's customers want to go beyond a fancy website. They want a web technology solution that will, number one, improve customer satisfaction. That's a lot of the reason we see these point and push. If you're a certain level of customer, we got to back up a minute. If you spend a certain amount of money with, say, Hewlett-Packard, you get the button on your website to talk to somebody. I think it's like $50,000 or something like that. But if you're not, then you don't. But what they've done is they've classified. They've already started to break up and look at their customers that are coming out through web mining. They know who it is when they go on the site. If you are spending $50,000 a month with them, you get the button to talk to somebody. This type of thing. Well, that in the end just improves customer satisfaction. Open up new sales opportunities. Again, it goes back to just knocking down doors, trying to find out what's going on. When I came back to Amarillo, my wife got a job with Region 16, a really good job that that is in technology, of course. And she came to me. She said, "Got this great opportunity in Amarillo. We're from Amarillo, but I know you've got your career too." And I was like, "Well, I don't know what I'm going to do." I came to Amarillo before I even gave my notice with NEC, started knocking down doors, and I said, "Hey, I don't know who you are. Let me introduce myself. This is what I do for your company." And I laid out a portfolio. I said, "Let me help you." Well, come to find out, I got lucky. My CEO came to me and said, "Nah, we'll work something out." And so I get to telecommute. But I met a lot of neat people in Amarillo just by going and knocking down doors. And in a way, I was opening up opportunities for myself. Well, drive efficiencies. No matter what you do in life or in anything else, there's always a better way to do it. The more I've looked at software, the more I've looked at the internet, the more I've looked at all this stuff, the less I know about it. I think that's the biggest thing I can give you today. If you're trying to provide a solution, there's always going to be so much more stuff out there that you can take advantage of to create these efficiencies. If you can get the job done 10 times faster, you have an advantage, a competitive advantage over someone else. And that's kind of a neat way to leverage yourself as well. And the last thing is, I've noticed that, you ever notice you get in those executive meetings and they always want to put a business model on everything, right? Well, there's certain standard business models. Then there's this new paradigm of business models that exist out here, which we are in. E-commerce, web commerce, technology. It's funny to me, if you go back and you look at how hypertext markup language, HTML, works in the beginnings, it's not like reading a book from A to B. It doesn't go page 1, page 2, page 3. It goes from 1 to 100, back to 10. How can you take something that's designed and developed on top of that and put a static business model on it? I think there's always going to be some kind of dynamics built in your business model. I didn't include that in there, but I was thinking about that earlier today. On my way down here, I was thinking that there's so much dynamics that are in this. You've got to incorporate that in one way or another. And other than that, does anybody have a question? Anything I could answer? Got you through the afternoon. Yes.
We got a projector